there was a power outage from about 11 until about noon on the very first day of all things, but we got back online and got through it. So,
Wow.
Where do your kids go, Eric?
we're having them do the 100% online for the first trimester, but we would be going to Cape Wickham Elementary in Coralville.
Okay, gotcha.
So, yep, a fifth grader and a second grader I've got.
Nice. Yeah, that was a special adventure there on the first day of school.
Yes.
Hey, Mary.
Hello, and I see we have someone here from Las Vegas. I'll talk more about that in a little bit. Nice to see you, George. Good morning.
Thank you.
Hey, Mark.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning. Thank you again. Much appreciated.
Yeah, no problem.
Good morning, Devin. This is Chet.
Hey, Chet.
Hi, can you sign me in there?
Yes.
Please sign me in.
Oh,
Okay. Dogs, huh?
Mark, do you want to test out your screen share?
Yeah.
You should be good to go. Your permissions are all lined up and everything. Yep.
Looks good.
And then if you just do, yep, there you go.
You can see
That's
it all?
great.
Okay.
Perfect. Awesome.
Everybody's staying warm today, warm and dry, the best we can.
Something like that.
Yep.
Yeah, we need the rain.
We do.
How is it in St. Louis, Christina? Oh, you're muted if you're talking.
It is a little sunny and it is hot.
Okay. Got two people with warmth somewhere. It's like 54 and raining out here, like it's been all week.
Didn't log you in or anything.
Hey everybody, we'll get started at 12:03 like we usually do. If you could sign in the chat, that'll help us with attendance. Welcome.
Audio. Sit down. Okay, let me go over here. We'll change your view to gallery view.
Devin, is your family hybrid? Are they online? Are they, what's kind of your situation?
Well, the teeny tiny people are still at daycare for now. I think Tristan will start preschool next fall. And Elise is the virtual band teacher for Clear Creek Amana.
Okay.
Anybody who chose the virtual option for this semester are the ones that she'll be teaching. And she's doing some virtual lessons for other people as well in the district, kind of picking up as much of the administrative / virtual stuff as she can.
Sure. Things going pretty well for her the first week or so, first few weeks?
Yeah. They need protective equipment to be able to do band as safely as possible. So they've got bell covers that they're putting over all the instruments and
Sure.
masks where you can just get the mouthpiece or the whatever that is called on brass instruments in, but nothing else comes out. So they're waiting for those and then they'll ramp everything up. They've been doing a lot of bucket drumming and things like that, or drumming of anything that you have in your house, like pots and pans with pencils.
Sure.
But you can imagine what that sounds like with the lag from Zoom where she's playing, but if you listen to a bunch of other people play, how not in sync that would be.
Sure.
She's got plans to have them send in recordings and layer those like you've heard with the virtual choirs and all that good stuff. So there will be fun moments in there, but it's not the same as seeing people in person, just like this. It's not the same. Some of it, but not the same.
Does the marching band get to perform with the high school football team on Friday nights, or are they still off.
Not as a marching band. They've got a pep band that performs in a static spot in the stadium somewhere.
Mhm.
Yeah, there's people doing it all sorts of different ways with all sorts of different rules. Most of the ones around here I hear are doing at band sorts of things, but there are my band director up in Northwest Iowa from when I was in high school. He's got the band out there practicing, performing, all of that.
Straight from a former star player. This year's
And Kirkwood started up, right?
Yeah, we had to delay it by a week just because of the storm damage and to give our students time to recover from the delayed show. But yeah, we started last Monday, so we're going into week 2 now.
Gotcha.
Yep. Combination of in-person, hybrid, or online. Basically, every course is offered in 3 different options so it can meet the needs of the students.
Oh, wow. That's great. And that's quite an effort on the part of the instructors.
Yeah, it was a learning curve for some of the ones to, Zoom and online technology, as it is for everybody.
Right. And to do it effectively and keep people engaged.
Mm.
I remember one class in particular from my MBA where it was just straight lecture for an hour, no video. Maybe there was a video, but no two-way video. So it was just us listening to a guy talk for an hour straight, and that was murder. This is much, much better.
Yes.
I think we're going to get started here in just 1 minute. Welcome, everybody. If you haven't yet signed in the chat, if you could, I see that a lot of people have. Hi, Patty. Hi, Rebecca. Hi, Kelly, Bernie, Bill, Sherry, Jim. Oh, I won't read everybody's names, but hi, everybody. Good to see you all.
Yeah, we're up to 55 participants. It's nice to watch that number continue to climb.
For sure. Good for you, Mark. Keep that up, man. How far do you think you're going to make it?
just recently.
How long without it?
Yeah, without your furnace, you going for like mid-November?
We'll turn it on when she says it's okay.
Oh, there you go. The right answer.
I got my vest on. I'm good. And long sleeves.
Yep. What do you think, Eric?
Sure. Yep. Well, I want to welcome everyone to Iowa City Noon Rotary. It's great to see everybody today. Thanks for joining us. We've got a good program and a great speaker today we're excited for. You might be wondering, where is President Barb Thomas? Barb is actually being recognized as we speak today, and I want to make sure I get the award name right. Barb is receiving a Cedar Rapids Gazette Her Woman of Achievement Award. So Barb's a humble person, but when you see Barb Thomas next, make sure you congratulate her on that achievement. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Eric Weiler. I am the Rotary President-elect, so my term will officially start next July. But when Barb is unavailable from time to time, I'll be filling in for her. So we like to start each meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. So if I could ask everyone to stand if you are able and to unmute yourself and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with justice for all.
We like to start our meetings by turning it over to Devin, and Devin always provides a few helpful Zoom tips for all of us. So I'll turn it over to you, Devin.
Yeah, thanks, Eric, President-elect Eric. I'm not muted. Okay, good. So first tip, make sure you're unmuted if you're going to talk. But you all know that you've got video, mute down there in the bottom. If you want to see all of the beautiful people that are in the meeting with you, you can turn it to gallery view. Should be in the top right if you're on a computer, and otherwise look for a little grid so that you can see everybody who's in the meeting with you. And then when it comes time for the speaker, switch to speaker view. And then as a reminder, click on participants if you want to raise your hand for questions. And I anticipate this will be a really good program for lots of questions at the end, so be ready for that, or if you have announcements. And then one new thing, that's all review. Last week, Brad Baldus noted that if the presenter is using slides like Mark will be today, the video screen of all of your fellow participants might get switched to somebody who's not Mark. So you can switch around who you're seeing in the video screens of who your fellow participants are as you're watching the slides our speaker is sharing. So check that out if you're not seeing Mark today and you want to, or if you want to see other people, you can change. There's little box or small boxes in just above the screens of your fellow participants. So thanks. Back to you, President-elect Eric.
Great, thanks, Devin. It's always exciting to see new faces on here every week, be it a visiting Rotarian or a guest of a Rotarian. So we ask if you're a visiting Rotarian or a guest, if you could go to the participant section and click raise hand. And I know starting off, Mary Reddick has a special guest from Las Vegas. She would like to introduce Mary.
Thank you very much, Eric. Yes, for many, I think that George Ihacker really needs no introduction. He's been an active Rotarian for decades, and he now attends his meetings via Zoom in Las Vegas, where he resides. George and I have known each other for quite a while. He is a volunteer and a philanthropist. He's been involved in many things, so he has really embraced the qualities of Rotarians. He and his late wife were instrumental in establishing the Iowa Women's Archives, and you might remember Lois. And they were also members and on the board for the UI Friends of the Library. Additionally, George is a person from Amana, so we share that background, and he's also a member of Amana Heritage Society. George and his daughter Virginia have the honor of being the last face-to-face visit I had with donors before we all went into our homes for this pandemic. We saw them in Las Vegas at the end of January. So George, I'm not sure if you're going to say a few words, but it's great to have you here. I'm so glad that you joined us via Zoom today.
We're very
Thank you, Mary.
happy that you got through in Las Vegas before they turned everything off out there. It's a very eerie 3 or 4 months. There were nothing was going on. We drive down to the strip every now and then just to see it. Each time seemed to be fewer cars. Then 3 weeks ago, finally started picking up again. I think we're starting to get back to normal.
Okay, great. Well, great, George. It's great to see you, and thanks for all that you've done for Rotary and for our community as well. So glad you could join us. Devin, do we have any other visitors today?
Not that I'm seeing right now.
Okay. We'll move on to any Rotary announcements. And I know if Bill Easton, I believe, is on the call, Bill is going to talk to us about a special day of caring and a way we can support, do a supply drive for the shelter house. So Bill Easton, are you on?
Yep. Yeah, I'm here. Thanks. Yeah, as I've mentioned the last couple of weeks, we're partnering with Shelter House for a day of service for a drive-through supply drive. That's going to be tomorrow from 9 a.m. till 5 p.m. At Shelter House. I believe it's going to be along the side because of the rain, but they're looking for donations for things like toothbrushes and toothpaste, travel size shampoo and conditioner, travel size lotion, deodorant, soap and travel size body wash, masks, hand sanitizer, feminine products, hairbrushes, disposable wipes, lip balm, toilet paper, new socks and new underwear, backpacks. If you have any of that type of thing, you can just drive through and drop it off, or if you want, you can shoot President Barb an email and we can pick it up for you at your house. Just shoot her an email, say you have something, and and I'll be coming by tomorrow to pick things up. And that is about it.
Great, thank you, Bill. Yeah, hopefully everyone's proud of the fact that our Rotary Club, we reach out to a lot of nonprofits throughout the year and support their efforts. It's a way of service above self and a way for us to give back, which is wonderful. If anyone else has an announcement, we ask that you raise your hand in the participant section. And while you're doing that, I've got a quick announcement. Our Rotary Board is looking for a few more people who might be interested in taking more of a leadership role within Rotary and within our club. And if this is something that sounds of interest to you, we ask that by September 25th, you email President Barb Thomas, and I'll put her email in the message section in a second. But we just need 3 sentences from you. The first one, just tell us a little bit about yourself. Second, talk about your involvement with Rotary. And the third and final one, talk about why you want to be on the Rotary Board. So it's a great opportunity to get more involved with Rotary, and we'd love to have a few people throw their hat in the ring for consideration. So Devin, any more announcements, people raising their hands?
Nope, none that I'm seeing.
Okay, great, thanks. Now, one of the favorite parts of the meeting for me is the Rotary moment of positivity and gratitude. And this week we have our friend Shelly from the Community Foundation of Johnson County who's going to provide that moment for us. I'd like to call on Shelly.
Hi. Excuse me. Hi, everyone. It's so great to see you. I wanted to share my moment of gratitude today regarding scholarship funds. And so if any of you work in scholarship funds or know anything about scholarship funds, they can sometimes, from an administrator's perspective, be sort of laborious. So if there is a scholarship that is renewable, or maybe there's a scholarship that that's merit-based, that requires the student to annually, like at the end of the year, to verify their enrollment. Maybe the scholarship is for the nursing field, for example. They have to verify their enrollment for nursing. And then also merit-based, so providing an academic transcript. And so as you can imagine, this year was particularly interesting because students had gone, all online. And so it was just a different challenging year, and they were kind of scattered out in different spaces. And so one of the opportunities that I had was to wrap up the year with one of my students when they came to provide their academic materials to renew their scholarship. And the student had said to me, this scholarship was so helpful to me. And I said, great, from a financial standpoint, that's, wonderful to hear. And he said, no, I want you to know that this year in particular, this scholarship I reflected on many times because it reminded me that someone who I don't even know cares about me and wants me to be successful. And so this student said there were many times when he didn't want to get on that Zoom call or didn't want to get up to work on those assignments. He thought about his scholarship fund and how much that meant to him, that there was someone behind the scenes who believed in him through the scholarship fund, and it was someone that he hadn't met before. So that really touched me, how important that scholarship was, not just from a financial perspective, but just from someone in the community being a champion and wanting that student to succeed. And so that made me think about Rotary as well. All the work that Rotary does to champion youth in our area, from the Rotary Youth Leadership Awards, the RILA, to scholarships, to exchanges. We provide support and encouragement to students throughout the year, and you just never know how that support will be internalized by our students. And it might just be that one thing that student needed to be able to get through the day. So I wanted to share that piece of news.
Great, thank you so much, Shelly. I know personally I work in fundraising and do scholarships myself, and I know many Rotarians, both personally and through their business, support scholarships for Iowa, for Kirkwood, and for other organizations. And as Shelly said, it really makes an incredible difference, not just financially, but inspirationally. So thank you, Rotarians, for your support of scholarships. And thank you, Shelly, for providing that moment for us.
You're welcome.
So, yep. Now we're moving on to, we've got a great program today, and I'd like to call on immediate past Rotary President Jim Connor to introduce our program speaker. Jim?
Great, thank you, Eric. I hope I'm coming through. I just clicked the unmute button there. First, Eric, I want to echo your recognition of President Barb Thomas today that she's receiving for her community and business leadership. I know she's not on the call, but sometimes it's easier to talk nicely about people when they're not present. But Barb's extra efforts to go above and beyond last year as vice president of our club, and all of the things that she's doing this year and has planned for this year, given our unusual circumstances, are truly above and beyond the normal call of duty. So I'm just so pleased that she's being recognized today, and our club's in great hands under her leadership. Moving on to our program today, it's my honor to introduce Mark Nolte as our speaker. I'm going to be real careful to not give the background or information on Project Better Together, because I'm so excited about it. Just given all of the challenges that 2020 have presented us, an organization and an effort like Project Better Together is so important and so timely. And I had the privilege of serving with Mark, or for Mark, on his board while he was the leader of ICAD. Mark's just the type of leader that our community and our area needs in these difficult times. So I'm excited to hear Mark's update about Project Better Together. And then lastly, I'm just going to say for fun that back when music was a thing, when people used to go out and listen to concerts and shows, I really enjoyed playing some music with Mark. He's a wonderful musician and a great singer, and I wish we could do those things today, but here we are, and excited though again to hear from Mark, talk about Project Better Together. Mark?
Thanks, Jim. I miss music as well. It seems like a long time since we've been able to do anything like that. Appreciate the opportunity to represent this effort and kind of bring everybody up to speed on what's happening. So back, it seems like a lifetime ago, but if you remember back when COVID started kind of really impacting the community back in February and March, the Area Economic Development Organizations, so think Iowa City, led by Josh Schomburger, Iowa City Area Development Group, led by Kate Moreland, the Iowa City Area Partnership, formerly the Chamber, led by Kim Casco, and the Downtown District, led by Nancy Bird, immediately came together and started kind of that immediate triage for the business community, streamline their communications teams so that they had one unified voice. If you remember, like the guidance around what businesses should be doing was changing by the minute. And so they were getting that out there. They were helping businesses get protective equipment, PPE, face masks, everything. If you remember just how difficult those times were, they really came together and were doing that. And then when the state had programs for businesses, and then the SBA with the PPP program, making sure that businesses around the county all knew how to access that. And I can't talk about the PPP program without taking a second to recognize the local banks that really stepped up and took something that was very complicated and made it so great for local businesses. I know a lot of the local bankers. I know Jim, and I see Charlie Funk on here, and I know a lot of your teams. They were working around the clock to help local businesses when that application started in April, and they get a lot of credit for that, because that really kept the economy going for several months. So once the kind of immediate needs started to be met, then the conversation had to shift to what are the long-term goals, and how can we use this as an opportunity to benefit the community, and how do we come out of this stronger? And so, and I'll ask Kim and Nancy and Kate, I know they're on, to jump in where I forget things, because I'm sure I will, but how do you use this opportunity to make the changes that you need, balancing that short term with the long term? And so one of the first things they did was recognize that we're facing complex, tangled, and wicked challenges. These are not easy to solve problems. When you start think of how a community and a business community responds to a pandemic, And then some of the other issues that were present prior to: childcare, affordable housing, all those things. As great as this area is, we know it wasn't perfect. And that's one of the hallmarks about this community that is so great, is we don't run from those challenges. We're constantly looking to improve. And that's a big part of why I think Rotary is so important, and why I'm drawn to this club, is because I think it's that same ethos of what can we do as a group to just keep making things better and better, and not shy away from those bigger challenges. As though we kind of knew this was going to happen a few years ago, we learned about a process that came out of the University of Purdue called strategic doing. And I'm happy to report that the Iowa City area has more people trained in this methodology for getting things done than anywhere else in the world. And so this is the strategic doing credo, that we all have a responsibility to build our future together, that no individual and no one organization can do that alone, that it takes open, honest, focused, caring collaboration among diverse groups. And then you gotta just start doing things, right? We talk a lot about just hitting singles, right? You can't eat the elephant in one bite. You just gotta, what's the little thing? What's the doable that we can do right now? And the more that we do that, and the more trust we build, the more things we can accomplish together. And so they came together with this project together with the purpose of, let's build this community-wide initiative aimed at helping Greater Johnson County not only recover from the impacts of this pandemic, but end up stronger and be more resilient as a result. And so the 4 economic development organizations put this together. I had left ICAD to help a friend start a solar panel manufacturing operation. COVID kind of put the kibosh on that. So I was available, and I really appreciate the opportunity to work with this team again. And so I came on as the project director, and then we built a steering committee. And these are the members of that steering committee. And it's a really diverse group of leaders. We've got the public sector, private sector, healthcare, education. And this group meets every week. Every Friday morning at 8 a.m., this group of people gets on a Zoom just like this. And we talk about what happened this week and what's coming up. And as soon as we got this group kind of together and started to congeal and said, all right, how do we start to deal with COVID? Well, then the murder of George Floyd in Minneapolis happened, and everything happened around the Black Lives Movement. And so we had great discussions. How do we address that as a community? How do we support that? And then we had a debate show, and it's kind of been one thing after another. But this group has had some very honest and spirited debates around a lot of things, like reopening schools. Should the university come back? How do we do that? The mask ordinances, things like that. Things that got. There's no right answers for all these. I think that's the common thread with a lot of this. There's no black and white in any of this anymore. It's all shades of gray, and every decision has different consequences. But I really appreciate this group for, again, building that trust and working together and saying what they want to say and getting it out there and hashing it out. And it hasn't been smooth. It's been bumpy, but you can tell it's having an impact behind the scenes, just having these folks work together on a regular basis. So what's the goal? The goal is that we, again, come out of this stronger than before. And so using that strategic doing concept, we know there's no straight path, but we know that from this steering committee, we start to build these open channels of communication. And then we start to put together these small groups of strategic doing to start tackling some of the areas. And we'll talk more about that. And they start to do some things. And the more things get done, the more trust gets built, the more we can accomplish together. And so this slide is a little bit out of date. And I know the print is probably pretty small on some of your screens, but these are some of the buckets that were identified that we need to start working on as a community. So we knew the economy, obviously, and workforce are things that we're always constantly working on, but housing, health and well-being, what can we do around that? Education, Kate Moreland worked with the school district on how do we get internet to more families that don't have internet access, because if schools are online, but you can't access that. And so, things just started to emerge, and we're constantly adding things to this and continuing to move forward. So just go through some of the things that have happened. We put out on the IC Area Better Together website a survey where we asked people around the community in several languages to start putting together their thoughts and what do they want the community to look like. And from that, a vision document has been created, and we're working through kind of ratifying that vision document so that we can share that back with the club and the city governments, county government, and kind of say, this is our North Star. This is what we're driving to, so that all the decisions that are made over the next few years drive to those goals. Some of the strategic doing work that started immediately has been around affordable housing. And right now it's focused on what more can be done to prevent evictions. How do we work with landlords and lenders to help them deal with an increase in renters not being able to pay their rent? What can we be doing to long-term to get more affordable housing built, rehabbing old housing, that sort of thing. So there's groups meeting every week on that. As I mentioned before, when the Black Lives Matter demonstrations happened, we brought in a lot of folks to meet those Friday morning meetings, a lot of the leaders in the Black community to say, what do we need to know? What are we not getting? How do we support that movement? Because absolutely we all supported Black Lives Matter and the need for us to refine policing, I'll use that word. And then we had to re-educate ourselves on what the local communities have been doing over the last 20 years to improve policing. And that was one of the things that was very clear. And I really commend Supervisor Royce-Ann Porter for being a champion and saying that we don't have some of the issues that they're having in some of these larger cities, that this is a community that's been working proactively to reform our police and do a better job with, we ask our police officers to respond to so much that they were never trained for, never signed up to do. People get into police work to stop bad guys. They don't get into it to handle domestic abuse and things like that. And so if you know the history of what's happened, it definitely helps. And it helped us be able to communicate that to some of the folks that were leading the protest, to say, while these issues exist in other parts of the country, it's not necessarily the case here. Do we have racism in our community? Absolutely. And so I credit Nancy Bird. One of the things that we did some of the nights during those protests back in June was they had what we called something loitering. What do we called it? There was a name for it, but there were staff members from the 4 economic development organizations sitting at tables, handing out water bottles and snacks and kind of saying, we support your right to protest, but this is our community and we're here to make sure things stay peaceful and calm. And on the nights when that happened, there was very little graffiti that happened downtown. And on the nights that there was a lot of graffiti, that Josh and Nancy and Kate and Kim and their teams, they were all out the next morning with gloves on cleaning up graffiti. So we're trying to walk that line. And again, there's no right or wrong in these issues. It's all gray. And we try to learn and we try to keep going. One of the things that we were able to support was the United Way really took the leadership in creating some of these pop-up centers. So worked with the school district to use some of their gymnasiums because you needed big spaces to distance. But a lot of the social service agencies got together and set up little booths in the gym, and people could come in and just go booth to booth and figure out what their needs were and what, was it food, was it housing, was it childcare, was it getting their kids signed up for internet, getting them signed up for school. And they all left with a box of food that they could take home. As part of the Holding Our Own Shop local program that I'll talk to you a little bit more, a part of those funds through the Community Foundation were reinvested into grants for businesses owned by individuals who are Black, immigrant, people of color, impacted by COVID-19. I'll talk more about that. We've been talking about testing, expanding testing, obviously the mask ordinances. We politely worked with the governor's office to ask for more local control around letting communities have the ability to mandate masks. And we're building a better relationship with the governor's office there. A member of her staff was on our call last week, and she has an open invitation to our Friday calls, because we know we can't have an adversarial relationship with the governor's office right now if we want to work with them. How do we build more support there? Food security, immediately back in March, the local restaurants, Nate Kading and the downtown district worked on this. Local restaurants were using their staff to make meals for nonprofits in the community. And then a lot of effort around childcare and return to learn. Jennifer Banta with the Business Partnership has really been a big spearhead for leading a lot of that work. So those are just a snapshot of some of the things that are happening, and those are bigger things. And again, there's a lot of little things that are happening too. We did a press conference back in June where we had the leaders from the local hospitals and the county health department just imploring the community to wear their masks so that we could keep our economy open. One of the things, again, this really credit to the local banks for stepping up and partnering, and the Community Foundation of Johnson County and the Downtown District for taking what had been a local downtown gift card program and expanding it countywide. So when you spend money at local businesses and you turn in your receipts, you can get, for every $150 you spend, you can get a gift card that you can then go back and use at a local business. And then some of that money went into that BIPOC grant fund. And to date, as of this morning, over $50,000 in gift cards have been sent out. There's about 1,600 left to give out. That equates to over $400,000 in local spending that's been driven by this program. And that's huge if you think about that. And that's just since June 22nd when that program launched. And then from those monies, $52,000 were granted out, just grants, checks mailed to 33 immigrant and BIPOC owned businesses in the county that had applied. And those ranged from $500 to about $5,000. And so just, you know, the amount of appreciation from those businesses where every dollar means so much right now, just getting that and letting that, not only the money, but knowing that the community supports them right now and that we have their back. And so that's kind of this underlying notion that we've got to continue to work together. We've got to shop local. We've got to find ways to support each other in a lot of different ways. And so some of the things, there's a website you can go and get more information about this, the ICAreatogether.com website. There's a newsletter that's going out every Monday. There's been a number of webinars that have taken place over the last few months talking about, you know, how to reopen your business, how to keep your employees safe, how to provide childcare. I mean, you name it, as these topics present themselves, the communications team of the 4 organizations are just so timely in getting these things together. There was one, I think this one was from back in June, where we were talking about some of these issues. Jim Conrad was on there talking about what everything that the banks had been doing and what more could be done, and talking about this greater initiative. This is a picture from that press conference that we held back in June. We put out a survey a few weeks ago. So between August 11th and 17th, a survey went out, 120 businesses responded. And we kind of just wanted to get a quick gauge for how businesses are feeling. And you can see 66% of the businesses reported a decrease in sales since the pandemic started. On the confidence level, we kind of asked them on a scale of 1 to 10, how are you feeling about weathering the next 6 to 12 months? And that number was 7.8, which was higher than maybe we thought it would be, but it's showing that there's some resiliency in the business community, that they're bullish on getting through this. And only 5% of the businesses were considering a closure. And you can see 50% do have the ability to allow their employees to work somewhat remotely and to accommodate childcare. So that's, you know, only 50-50. And then Nancy was able to extrapolate just from the downtown businesses that participated in that. And you can see the story's a little grimmer downtown, where 90% of businesses reported a decrease in sales and 8% are actively, you know, worried about having to close in the next 6 to 12 months. And more of those businesses being retail service don't have the ability to allow their employees to work from home. They need their people to come in, which creates more of a childcare issue. And we've had similar conversations with the hospitals. The 3 leaders of the hospitals, UIHC, VA, and Mercy, are part of the steering committee. And they've said over the last few weeks, morale within the hospitals has waned a little bit as more of these families are trying to figure out how to do school online. So again, it's all these challenges folded in on each other. And And we can't solve them all at once. There's no magic bullets, but trying to figure out the best ways to move forward. I'm going to stop and ask Kim and Kate and Nancy if they have anything, and then we'll talk about the nests a little bit. What am I forgetting here? All right. So one of the things that came out of this, from all the work that was happening around childcare and the return to learn, and again, Jennifer Banta has really been the spearhead of this with a lot of Rotarians. Deb Duncase has been working on this, but creating neighborhood nests, as they're being called, but safe spaces with trusted adults where some of our most at-risk youth can go and get help with their schoolwork, get help with food, just supportive environments that are going to pop up all around the communities, all volunteer led. There may be a nonprofit behind each one. A lot of the religious community is working to support if they've got space. And this is a quickly evolving effort, but this is one of the things that shows what can happen when you get a bunch of people that really want to tackle a problem together. And so you have to manage all the COVID stuff, right? We can't warehouse children in big spaces anymore. So we need small spaces with 10 or fewer kids, which means more legwork, more volunteers, all that kind of, but they're figuring it out. They've not let all those negatives stop them from moving. I think that's one of the things that's been so inspiring through this whole thing is we've had all these volunteers sign up and no one is letting the challenge overcome them. You know, challenge pops up, we figure out how to get around it, over it, through it. And that resiliency gives me so much hope around this community and what we're capable of and what we can continue to do. And like I mentioned, you know, then obviously a derecho pops up, and you know, we spent a couple of days working on what, you know, our local needs, but then we realized how much need there was in Lynn County. And so we invited some of the leadership from Lynn County to join our Friday morning call. And from that, chainsaw crews were mobilized. Josh led a huge group of people that athletes and coaches from the University of Iowa and just community members who went up and just went block after block with chainsaws, cutting trees down. Kate worked on getting food trucks from Johnson County. We raised money, sent food trucks up to Lynn County, and just told them, just find people and feed them.
Yeah, I'll be right up. Thank you. Bye-bye.
So it was great to see that in that time of need, all the leaders from Johnson County quickly pivoted to see what we could do to help our neighbors to the north through those difficult weeks after derecho. So again, it's a scary time. We don't know what's happening, but we can't lose hope. We can't lose the trust, the faith, the community, and joy. Back to Jim's earlier point, right? We've lost a lot of the arts and culture, and we know those organizations are suffering too. And we as humans want to get together and celebrate and sing and dance. And right now we're not able to do that in the same ways. And it's just been amazing to see what can be done with Zoom, but we know it's not the right substitute for everything. And so some of the conversations going on right now, how can we, you know, using this not great fall weather today, but we know fall gives us an opportunity to get outside. So how do we activate some outdoor spaces better and do some things outside with distancing, especially around the student population with the bars being closed? What can we do to make them feel welcome and enjoy our community while they're here learning? Because, you know, again, we've had a lot of these conversations and you can fall on one side or the other, but we know that from an economic standpoint, we need the students here in our community. They pay rent, they shop, they eat a lot of food. We need them here, but we need to find ways to do that safely. So there's a lot of things going on. One of the things, going back to the morale at the hospital, we reached out to a number of Iowa coaches and former athletes this week, and they immediately started sending videos in, you know, kind of what we're calling a halftime speech, because we know we're just getting into this COVID, and now we got flu season coming up. And it was amazing to see all these people volunteer to just offer words of encouragement to the healthcare providers who need it right now. And so we're going to continue to do things like that. What can you do as members of the club? Shop local. Like, you know, every time a dollar leaves our community through an Amazon or something like that, it's gone. But we know that if we shop local, that money stays here and gets recycled So do business local whenever you possibly can. Sign up to volunteer. Yeah, that doesn't mean leaving your house a lot right now. You can be part of some of these strategic doing sessions and jump on a Zoom like this and offer your expertise and your ideas. But there are some other volunteer opportunities. You can volunteer at a Nest if you're interested and able, and COVID willing, you can do that. You can make a contribution to the BIPOC grants or to the Nest through the Community Foundation of Johnson County. Shelly's been just an unbelievable partner and just every day is asking what more the Community Foundation can be doing to support. And if you have ideas on things we need to do, shoot me an email and we'll put it in the mix. So this is a community effort. Again, go back to the beginning. There's no one organization or entity that can do this alone. It's getting everyone involved, but I'm really encouraged by how far things have come. We've made mistakes. We've dropped the ball a few times, but we just continue to put the next foot forward. And we know as challenges continue to arise, we'll be there. And we're going to keep fighting for this community because we love it here. And we know that while it isn't perfect, it's a pretty damn great place and we want to keep making it better. So I will open it up for questions and comments, but I'm going to show a video that the communications teams made that just it fires me up and reminds us that we are in this together. And this is a community that's going to hold our own. So I'm going to play the video and then I'll welcome any thoughts, comments, questions.
Mark, we can't hear any sound if there's meant to be sound with it.
Still no sound, Mark, at
No
least
sound?
on my end. No.
Sorry. Kim, sing.
It might be your earbud. No.
There's a great song that goes to this. It's made by an artist that grew up in Eastern Iowa. So I'm sorry you can't hear this. I can. It sounds great.
You sing then, Mark. I hear you
Yeah,
sing.
you
know.
sing. Maybe does it have something to do with your earbuds being in, Mark?
Could be.
Or your...
So with that, sorry about that. There's a great tune that goes along with that has that theme of holding our own in it that worked perfectly for that video. So at any rate,
Great.
I will stop talking and welcome any feedback and thoughts.
Great. Mark, on behalf of Rotary, thanks so much for your timely presentation today. I know you've been an incredible advocate for our community for well over 20 years, and we thank you for that. And personally, as someone who plans to live my life in Iowa City, I want to thank you for making this a great place to live, work, and raise a family. So thanks for the work that you do for us.
Well, I appreciate that. It's been an honor to be part of some great teams and groups to do that. So thank you.
Great. And I know I'm sure we have some questions. If you have a question, please go to the participant section, click raise your hand and unmute yourself. And Devin, if you could let us know if we have any questions, I'm sure we do.
And just as a reminder, yep, like Eric said, go to the participants tab and then you should see a raise hand option there. Otherwise, there are no hands raised. So if you want to just unmute yourself and ask your question, go for it. So I do have a question. Arts and culture. I saw social distancing circles and something else written down so far. What is that, and what are further plans that the team is talking about?
Yeah, so the University of Iowa Arts Leadership Group, they're meeting. They're working on coming up with some ways to kind of activate some outdoor space. Those distancing circles were supposed to happen this week, but with the rain. So don't tell anybody, but you're going to start seeing on a lot of university grounds some icons pop up that will be painted on the ground. And those are kind of like that becomes your space when you want to be outside. so that then we can start activating more of those outdoor spaces, because people can congregate either individually or in their little groups. That'll be happening. I don't want to give too much away. Some of this is supposed to be a secret, but the university is going to be putting up a ton of hammocks down by the river for people to, students, largely, but anyone in the community to use, getting more outdoor games, bags and bocce ball, things like that. Getting a lot of those things set up just so that we have more safe outdoor activities. And then there's some more meetings next week with city council and stuff that Nancy's working on. How can we continue to activate more of the downtown spaces, more of the parks, find ways to do fun things outside safely. On September 18th, thanks to Midwest One sponsoring this. Midwest One's always done the Chalk the Walk downtown. This year, a group led by Monica Nieves with Josh's organization and Liz with Kate's organization, it's going to be a Chalk Your Walk. And so they're going to encourage people to get some chalk and write messages on your sidewalk in your neighborhood about belonging and being a welcoming community and do things like that. So finding more ways to get people outside safely, but to do more things. So stuff like that. That's a thing. There's a laundry list of a lot of these little things that are happening that reporting individually doesn't seem like much, but when you look at them in aggregate over the next few months, that's what this is about.
Yeah, that's awesome. Gary Pasha has a question, and then Mary Ellen Lewis, I saw your written question. I can read that next, but Gary, go for it.
So Mark, I'm wondering, I didn't see it in your presentation. What is this group doing to integrate with existing things, like, for example, one that we've just partnered with as far as Rotary Club, community, when you talk about food insecurity, or shelter house, when you talk about housing. Is this group coordinating with those type of local groups as well?
Yeah, absolutely. So, we started in housing specifically, we started with one kind of big group, and we brought all the organizations that touch on housing, from Habitat to the Shelter House to all, you name it. We have a lot of organizations in this community that touch on parts of that. And then we brought in city managers, county super, we had one big conversation about what that end goal could look like. And using the strategic doing concept, that you always start with a framing question. And I don't remember it word for word, but it was something along the lines of what would it look like if Johnson County had affordable housing for anyone. It was much more articulate than that. And then from there, those groups started working together and then volunteered to break off into little side groups. So there's 3 groups working together now on 3 different areas. And so that's the thing. We're not trying to create new organizations. That's the last thing we're trying to do. But how can we get the existing orgs to work together better, to share information, to start building more trust? And like one of the things that's going to come out of that came forward, and we even had, the Realtors Association was part of that. So kind of a diverse group. It wasn't just one-sided. We had landlords and property owners as part of that. We had banks as part of that. And that was, so that I know one of the groups that I'm working on with is having a landlord and lender summit, and really getting clear about what are the opportunities for landlords right now? Are there programs? What can we be doing better as that group to make housing affordable, to not, to just do a better job of working with tenants to, are there programs out there that they haven't utilized in the past? So that's one of the things that'll be coming up. But it's a great point, Gary. We're not trying to recreate any wheels. What we're trying to do is figure out what our assets are in the community and how do we re-leverage those in better ways right now.
Thank you. I promise.
So I'll read the next question. Mary Ellen Lewis said, I did not see any members of our various religious communities on the steering committee. Maybe I missed some names. Any involvement of those communities?
That's a fair point. We do not specifically have anyone from the religious community as part of the steering committee. We did bring in some folks as part of as we were having the discussion with the Black Lives Matter group. We had some members of the faith community, and they've been very instrumental in the nest development that's being put together. But yeah, that's a gap on the steering committee that we should address.
Thanks.
It's one of those things. You got you need a big group, but it can't be so big. And so we had to figure out where to stop sometimes. But yeah, we have blind spots to some of those things too.
Thanks, Mark. Tim, you have a question. You've got your hand raised.
Yeah, thanks, Devin and Mark. There's a big story in today's New York Times about the impact of the recent events, obviously COVID, but the economy as well, on university communities. And I was wondering if there's any effort on the part of your organization to reach out to other Big Ten university communities and or nationwide communities to share ideas.
Yeah. And those, we reached out to Ames and Cedar Falls early on. It was probably back in May, and started trying to figure out what we could do there. So that their economic development organizations, we got on a bunch of Zooms together. And then through the President Harold's office, he's been reaching out to the Big Ten institutions. But this is one of the, this is one of those things that we're just being honest. We knew when the students came back, we were going to have a spike. And that's why we were advocating for local mask ordinances or a statewide mask ordinances. And we just, it didn't happen, right? And so now we're at where we're at. We can't change that. We don't have a time machine. The good news is the numbers are coming down. And that's been what's been great, having the leaders from the health organizations on every week. We dig into those COVID numbers. Last Friday, what Suresh with the hospital had kind of shared with us is that so far, it looks like the spread has largely stayed contained to the 18 to 24-year-olds. The college students are bouncing it around. They're not as symptomatic. They're not getting as sick as people were early in the pandemic, but they really wanted us to make sure we share with people, and this is a perfect group for that because most of the communities in Johnson County and most of the people have done such a good job with their distancing and wearing masks that the spread hasn't spread out like we had feared originally. There's still a lot of concern that it could, but right now hospitalization rates and the ICU beds are staying where we're at. The bigger concern right now is the spread outside some of the counties around Johnson County. That's where the numbers are starting to tick up. What's funny, we made it our goal back when we started this whole thing that we wanted the Iowa City area to get national press for how we handled COVID. This is not what we had in mind. But yeah, so fortunately, and the CDC has come out very strongly over the last couple of weeks and said the last thing you want to do right now is send all those kids home, right? Now, if they're there, you can somewhat isolate those kids in their student population. And I think that's the mindset that the university has right now. Let's keep them here. Let's kind of let it play its course. And if we as community members are safe, that we should be okay. Now that go back to some of the challenges of the downtown businesses. Between the protests and the students coming back, there's a lot of folks that are scared to death of going downtown, and we can't do that either. We got to encourage people to put their mask on, go downtown, shop, do business. Be smart, but we can't retreat from supporting those businesses that need it right now.
That's the last hand I see raised. Is there anybody else who has a question that just wants to unmute themselves and speak up?
Mark, I've always thought you would make a wonderful elected official, even in Des Moines or at a higher level. So 2020, or do we have to wait a little longer?
I think I've been pretty open. My current plan, if I can manage family finances and all that, because that's, with 5 kids to feed and put through college, but my current plan is to run as an independent for governor and try to talk about how partisanship and special interest money are the things that are damaging our democracy right now. It's a fool's errand probably to run as an independent, but that's where my heart's at. And if I'm going to be authentic to who I am, I represent, I respect the ideas on both sides, but what seems to me is the problem is no matter how good an idea is, if side A, if one party suggests it, then side B, it automatically has to hate it. And that's what's hurting us. And I think most Iowans are getting tired of the partisan bickering. And if we can bring things back to the middle a little bit and have an honest conversation about why there's so much money in politics, then that's what I want to do. So we'll see.
Yep. I think you'd have a lot of support from your Rotary family, so more to come, I guess. And Mark, in honor of your presentation today, our club will be donating $10 to the Rotary International Polio Plus program. And the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation matches that 2-to-1, so it'll be a $30 gift to Polio Plus. And that $30 will pay for 70 vaccinations, polio vaccinations around the world. So thank you again for being our speaker today and for your timely program and thoughtful words for us today.
Well, I really appreciate it, and can't thank Kim and Nancy and Kate and Josh enough for their leadership, and their organizations are impacted by this just like every other business, but they have not let it falter them, and they continue to just inspire me with what they're able to do together, and so it's great to be part of their team.
Great. Well, thank you again. Do any of our members have any final comments or announcements for the good of the club? If not, we'll give you the gift of a few minutes of time. We're going to end our meeting as we always do with the Rotary 4-way test. If you could please unmute yourself and join me. Of the things we think, say, or do,
is it the
truth?
Truth? Is it fair to all concerned?
Will it build better friendships and
beneficial to all
All
concerned?
concerned.
All right, Rotarians, we are adjourned. Hope everyone has a great week, and we'll see you next Thursday.
Thank you.